Over the past 2 years previous to this year, we had a student engagement focus at our school. It was basically one of our learning goals, especially for grades 7 through 12. So the first year we had made some surveys that we gave to kids to kind of like gauge their interest in the content that we were teaching and kind of the strategies that were being used by teachers. And we found really quickly that we needed to do some work there. We'd asked teachers to try some stuff. We'd asked them to like pick an initiative, try something different with their students to see what would work and what wouldn't work. And we found really quickly that we didn't really know what we were doing. We found that it's like we needed to do some development in that. So that was 2 years ago. Last year we picked 2 teachers and we did some kind of intensive work to say, if we're going to change this, what would we change it to? And I think we found some strategies that we were comfortable with. We found some things that we thought would work well. And so we wanted to grow that. We wanted to apply it to some other disciplines. And so the McDowell Foundation grant was like instrumental in helping us grow what we were trying to do. I had heard about McDowell because I was involved in the McDowell Foundation group previously, the St. Anne's group on inquiry learning. And it was a really positive experience. It was a really great thing to be involved in. And so having been involved in that, there were some teachers who were talking to me about like, what can we do more with student engagement, or how can we get more people involved? And it just seemed to like dovetail really nicely. When we were presenting at the Learning from Practice conference with the St. Anne's group, it was the same time we were having those discussions, and so it became kind of natural to like just apply for that.
I've been teaching math here at Clavet for the last number of years, and I felt like I had been really working hard trying to engage the students, trying to get them to be more perseverant, doing more fun activities with them. But what I really noticed was that I was not giving the students enough voice, and I really felt like to have them truly engaged, they needed to be able to have more of a say in what they were doing and how they wanted to do it. It started by interviewing the students. So right near the end of each unit in math, I would take the time to ask the students a number of questions. We would have face-to-face interviews. I've been blessed with low class numbers this year, like as far as the number of students in class, it's quite low. So I've had that luxury of being able to go out and talk to the students. Some of the key questions were, what could I do as your teacher to improve and to help you do better? And also, is there anything that the student would want to show me that they know how to do, which maybe they haven't had a chance to show me yet? Maybe earlier in the unit they were assessed on a skill and they didn't do very well. So I give them that chance to go back, and it was amazing how many times students, they would actually want to do that. If there was anything that they could improve upon, they offered to do that, and that was great. Well, there were a few different things that came out of what they wanted me to change, and so after each round of interviews, I would put down their main ideas up on the board and say, okay, this is how we can change this. One of the biggest areas of change was how I did an assessment focus. So after each lesson, I like to see, okay, did the students get this knowledge? Did they retain it? So a few days afterwards, I would often ask them a question or two relating to the topic that they had learned about previously. And I call that the assessment focus. And so the big change now, or over the course of this year, has been, okay, how do I deliver that? And some students wanted it right away, it's the next day. Some students wanted more time. So basically, after trying a few different things, what's happened now is that the students do it on their own pace.
We did a lot of work on just like changing the tasks we asked kids to do to be more authentic, to be more relevant. So that was one big thing. The second thing was around gathering student voice, to both like understand what the kids knew and did not know and could do and could not do, and then to inform our practice moving forward. So if whatever we learn from the conversation with kids, how is that going to change what we do in the next 5 minutes, or the next week, or the next lesson, or the next unit, or whatever that was, whatever happened there. And with those two things, like changing the task and then gathering student voice, a lot of it then moved in, like the next logical step is around formative assessment, and saying like we have to have a lot of conversations with kids to understand what they know and don't know. And so we did a lot of work on formative assessment as well. And so those are kind of the big 3 things I think that informed, or what we know, I guess, around student engagement now, what we know how to do better.
I was thinking a student engagement was getting kids as active as you possibly can in the school. So from a phys ed background, I went to this meeting going, this is going to be great. We're going to talk about hallway activity. We're going to talk about how many kids are involved in our extracurricular. What are we going to do for noon hour activities? It's going to be great. We're going to do all these things about engaging kids so that they're going to love coming to school. So I get there and they're talking about curriculum, and I'm looking around going, I think I'm in the wrong room. This is not how I think student engagement is. I'm thinking it as much participation as you can with all the activities outside of the classroom. And so I was kind of, wow, I've been taken to the wrong meeting. Like, I think I'm in the wrong room. And after listening to them, thinking, okay, yeah, this might work. Yeah, I teach math and phys ed. I think I can maybe do a little bit in math, but is this really going to make a difference? As I started talking about changing the way that I was teaching, of course, I've been teaching for a long time, so it's pretty old school. I have all my lesson plans already made. All my examples are already done. I have all the answers. The process is all there. If it takes me 6 steps, it takes you 6 steps. And then I give you the assignment. I teach you everything that I think you need to know, and then you do the assignment, and then you show me how much you know. And so this process was a little bit different. And so as I was listening, I thought, this could be really interesting. I'm going to be totally outside my comfort zone, though. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And then with Mr. McTavish coming in, he suggested he come in and just help me facilitate a little bit. And so I was sure this would be great. This old dog will learn a few new tricks. And so he came in and he started doing some Dan Meyer activities where we're thinking of like the big ideas. What do you want them to know about linear relations? And so we talked about learning y equals mx plus b, without actually teaching them that. And so we came up with this really cool activity. So we got the kids learning and etc. And I said, you know what? I thought there was something on whiteboards. We used something with whiteboards, like chalkboards. Like back in the olden days, everybody had a chalkboard. And so I asked him, hey, can we buy some whiteboards? And he hummed and hawed. It took a long time, so I thought it was taking a long time to order them, but really not understanding that he didn't quite understand. And I didn't either, but I thought this would be kind of interesting. Instead of putting it on paper, let's put it on the whiteboards. And it was amazing. So once I finally got the whiteboards, it was amazing. We actually hardly do anything in our notebooks, which I always feel bad about, because kids don't, if parents saw their notebooks, they have nothing really in it. And I'm worried in that sense, because parents are, what are you doing in math? Like, how come you don't have the title and the date and all these examples? Because we do everything on the whiteboard. And the kids would come into class going, are we using the whiteboards today? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And they'd yay, and they'd go grab the whiteboards, and they'd sit with their partners, and they'd do all these things. And then they just started to talk about math all the time. And so I said to Paul, this is really working. I really like what's happening.
The fourth part of what we learned from this whole endeavor was that when you have like you have to have a basis of trust to start with, but once you do and you have those relationships, there's a lot of really positive things that happen. 2 big things are teachers feel affirmed in what they're doing, whether it goes well or whether it does not go well. There's affirmation from the group to say, like, you know what, you tried something, it was awesome, thank you, tell me about that. Or it didn't go well, don't worry, I've done the same thing and it didn't go well, but we're going to keep trying together. So that affirmation was really important. And just the idea of accountability. We have a lot of teachers who would go to PD that was not embedded, just like a one-shot PD thing, and they would learn something new and they would say, this is fantastic, I'm going to try it, and then it would just sit on a shelf somewhere and they would never do it. With this group, you had to come to every meeting and say, this is what I tried, this is what I found from it, and this is what I'm going to do because of that. I'm going to change something, or I'm going to continue with. And you kind of had to make that commitment every month, and then the next meeting or the next month you would meet again, and you'd have to report on what you did. So if you came to a meeting and said, I'm going to try this, you knew within 4 weeks you had to come back and actually say, I'd done something, and so there was more accountability there. And I don't think it's teachers who are maybe say, I'm going to do something and don't. I don't think they're bad people. I just think that it's really hard to do that by yourself. And so having a group like this where those structures are there, I think it was really positive and really helpful for everybody in the group.
I think probably the thing I appreciate most about this is how our conversations are spilling over out of our meetings that we have once a month and into the school. Like, we're talking about in the classroom, in the hallways, in the staff room, and we're talking about teaching. And that has been really, really great.
Even if that's not my subject area, I'm taking away lots from what our French teacher does. I'm trying to utilize what her techniques are and the things that she's doing, and I tweak them to suit my math. Our high school English teacher, she's done some really great things, so I've taken those things and just tweaked them so that it'll work with my math. So I think that just that professional conversation and being like talking for a whole day on teacher stuff is energizing, it's invigorating, it's a challenge, but it's also so empowering as well. It's a really incredibly fantastic opportunity for all of us. And I wish that everybody could be in the same situation where everybody has this done. But of course, just financially or time-wise or prep time and those kind of things, we can't. But it has been an incredible experience. I would recommend it for every teacher.